In the movie Miss Evers' Boys, Miss Evers explains to the doctor that these men would not understand medical terminology and to put these things simply for them.
Great pains for great rewards, right?
You don't intend on telling them they have syphilis, do you?
Well, if they have it, we'll have to tell them something, won't we?
Well, maybe we better not use a word they never heard before. That just scare them off, Doctor.
So what are we supposed to tell them?
Well, just tell them that there's something the matter with their blood. You don't have to say exactly. They all know about bad blood.
But this program is just for the Negroes in Macon County.
Yes, and that's why Tuskegee was chosen. It's one of the few all-Negro hospitals in the South, in a county that's almost 80% colored. Now, you may not know this, but you people have one of the highest concentrations of syphilis in the country. It's nearly 35%.
We know it, Doctor. I mean, our wards are filled with syphilis because the white hospitals won't let them in. Negroes also have more pellagra, pneumonia, and TB, but there is no statistical basis for the belief that syphilis is a Negro disease any more than it was a French disease in the last century, or Russian, or Polish before that.
Now, don't get me wrong, Doctor. I'm not one of those that believe that Negroes are inherently more susceptible because of some, I mean, I voted for Roosevelt.
So what we had during this time was doctors and other people believing that there was a such thing as Negro diseases. But in actuality, there was not. What was happening is, since there was so much inequality and racism going on in the world, that when a Negro caught something, they were not treated medically equally as their white counterpart would have been had the white counterpart caught the same thing. What I have here is Bad Blood, and it is by James H. Jones. And he speaks on how blacks were not treated equally as whites were, even in the medical field. What he says is, advocates of racial medicine argue that differences in natural immunity, degree of susceptibility, and relative severity of reaction to various diseases often separated the races. At times, they were, in fact, recording what they observed, but in many instances, racial prejudice influenced their views. So, if you have these doctors seeing these sickness and these illnesses in these black people, but they're doing nothing about it, they're just recording the information that they see. During the 1930s and in previous years, blacks were said to have been inferior medically to whites due to their susceptibility of different illnesses. In 1851, Dr. Samuel Cartwright was believed to have been one of the leading authorities on the medical care of Negroes. During slavery, he created the term drapetomania, which was defined as a Negro disease causing a slave to want to be free and run away. Doctors truly did believe that blacks were medically inferior to whites due to their susceptibility of getting different diseases. Here in the book Bad Blood, James Jones discusses Dr. Cartwright and one of his other colleagues, and he says that advocates of black inferiority, such as Dr. Hosea Clark Knott of Mobile and Dr. Samuel A. Cartwright of New Orleans, published numerous articles during the 1840s and 1850s on diseases and physical properties thought to be peculiar to blacks. Dr. Knott and Cartwright were merely the best known of a group of Southern physicians who helped inflame the controversy over slavery. Influenced by these physicians, slaveholders who wished to create their bondsmen without benefit of professional help begged Southern doctors to write medical manuals on the treatment of blacks. Their requests went unanswered. Instead, physicians simply continued to assert that blacks were medically inferior to whites without offering a plausible medical explanation based on racial differences. Their observations were perfect for polemic but useless for the care of sick blacks. So here I have a letter that was sent out by the Macon County Health Department, and it is featured in the earlier part of this video. And it states, Macon County Health Department, Alabama State Board of Health, and U.S. Public Health Service cooperating with Tuskegee Institute. Dear Sir, some time ago you were given a thorough examination, and since that time we hope you have gotten a great deal of treatment for bad blood. You will now be given your last chance to get a second examination. This examination is a very special one, and after it is finished you will be given a special treatment if it is believed you are in a condition to stand it. If you want this special examination and treatment, you must meet the nurse at whatever designated location and time specified. She will bring you to the Tuskegee Institute Hospital for this free treatment. We will be very busy when these examinations and treatments are being given, and we'll have lots of people to wait on. You will remember that you had to wait for some time when you had your last good examination. And we wish to let you know that because we expect to be so busy, it may be necessary for you to remain in the hospital over one night. If this is necessary, you will be furnished your meals and a bed, as well the examination and treatment without cost. Remember, this is your last chance for special free treatment. Be sure to meet the nurse. Macon County Health Department.
Let me explain what we're checking for. There is a germ that infects the genital area, resulting in a temporary and painless, but highly contagious penile ulceration. Now, this ulceration will disappear as the disease becomes non-contagious or latent. And this latency can last for up to 30 years until finally the cardiovascular and nervous systems will disintegrate and collapse. Are there any questions?
Syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease caused by a bacteria known as Treponema pallidum. Syphilis is curable, but if allowed to progress without treatment, it can result in serious illness or death. If a person contracts syphilis, it can go through 4 stages, particularly if left untreated. The first, or primary stage, is marked by the appearance of a painless sore or chancre, about 20 days after infection. Within a week or two, the chancre usually heals on its own, but because a syphilis lesion increases the risk that a person can contract HIV by 5 times, abstaining from sex at this point is vital. After the chancre heals, the secondary stage of syphilis begins. A painless red or brown rash may appear on the body, especially on the palms of the hands and bottoms of the feet. The secondary stage is also characterized by flu-like symptoms, including fever, fatigue, and aching muscles. Because these symptoms are often indistinguishable from other diseases, syphilis is known as the great imitator. These imitation symptoms will usually resolve themselves without treatment within a few weeks. The third, or latent stage of syphilis begins when secondary symptoms abate. At this point, there are generally no outward signs of syphilis, but the bacterium continues to thrive internally. If syphilis is not treated, complications of the disease can result in a 4th stage called tertiary or late syphilis. This can spread to other organs, resulting in neurological problems like a stroke, paralysis, deafness, or dementia. Cardiovascular difficulties like inflammation of the heart's major artery, the aorta, may also follow from untreated syphilis. Eventually, these conditions can lead to death.
The Tuskegee experiment. This was about some sharecroppers, African Americans, who were uneducated mostly. They were taken by Alabama, the state of Alabama. For 40 years they walked around with the syphilis virus in them, never had any type of treatment. What they wanted to know was how it worked on African Americans. They believed, the health department of Alabama believed that the syphilis virus worked mainly on Caucasian people neurologically, and they thought maybe it worked on African Americans cardiovascularly. So they injected these men. They walked around with this virus untreated on purpose for approximately 40 years. They had approximately 40 women, the men's wives, who also suffered from the syphilis virus. There were several of their offspring who suffered also from the syphilis virus, from them injecting them with this virus and not telling the men that they were injected. They did not know how to seek treatment if they didn't know that they had it. So it was an atrocity. As the African American apartheid, medical apartheid, has been an atrocity, the things that they have done to African Americans in general in this country is so monstrous and so mentally painful that so many of us, this is one of the reasons why so many African Americans do not trust doctors to this day, because they have experimented on us unimaginably, to the point to where they used to also rearrange the bones in the head of some people without any anesthesia or anything like that. So, but getting back to the Tuskegee experiment, it was an experiment that was approved by the Alabama Health Department, and they just wanted to see how it reacted, how African American men would react to it.
The men in this study were ages 25 years or older. While they were participating in it, the researchers would give fake treatments or inject them with placebos because they did not want the syphilis to be treated in any way so that they could record the findings of it. Even when penicillin was made available in the 1940s and was found to be a cure of syphilis, the men were denied this treatment. So they walked around for 40 years with this disease invading their body. The study became known when the story was leaked to the press, and immediately the study was stopped.
Six decades ago, indifference and injustice combined to begin to write one of the most shameful chapters in the history of American medicine. Of course, the infamous project called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. In 1932, America's Public Health Service set out to study syphilis, but it pursued this worthy goal in a manner that was irredeemably cruel. Several hundred African American men the Public Health Service recruited at churches and clinics and farms were used in the study. Most of these men had syphilis. None of them knew their bodies harbored this disease. And then the Public Health Service followed the men's lives, watched how the disease developed, all the while withholding medicine, withholding treatment of any kind for these innocent American citizens. Medical professionals willingly, intentionally let human beings suffer from a treatable and then later a curable illness. These researchers knew that mercury and arsenic compounds could treat the disease, but the Tuskegee men did not receive the medicine. Later, the researchers knew that penicillin could cure the disease, but again, the Tuskegee men did not get the medicine. They didn't get treated until the 40-year study was discovered and stopped amid public outcry in 1972.
The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. It was an outrage to our commitment to integrity and equality for all our citizens. To the survivors, to the wives and family members, the children and the grandchildren, I say what you know. No power on earth can give you back the lives lost, the pain suffered, the years of internal torment and anguish. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry.
On behalf of all the survivors who have today and those who could not attend, and on behalf of their heirs, my fellow participants who have died, I wish to thank President Clinton. Thank you very much for inviting us to the White House. It has been over 65 years since we entered the program. We are delighted today to close this very tragic and painful chapter in our lives.